introduce them, step away. Now you got two people talking about you and you're nowhere around. That is powerful, powerful stuff.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Campfire Capitalism. I am your host, Desmond Dixon, and today we have another special for you. We got our main man, Mr. Trybean here, and I'm excited for you to come to the campfire and hang out with us as we talk about some business growth, some relationship marketing, some networking, and who knows, we might have a surprise for you. Terry, man, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. And I love the alliteration. We got Desmond, Dixon, we got Campfire Capitalism. Man, I want to change my name to either have my last name and start with a T or my first name start with a B. I feel like I'm missing out, man. I mean, call me Terry Teen for today or Barry Bean. Fun fact, I was almost named Barry Bean. Yeah, dude. My brother is 10 years older than I am. And when my mom's name is Barbara, my dad's name is Gary, my brother's name is Carrie, my mom knew that she had to have a rhyming name with Gary. And she said, well, if I do Barry, that's B-A-R from my name, and then it rhymes with your name, what name you Barry Bean? And my 10-year-old brother's like, you're going to name the kid fruits and vegetables? No, don't do that to him. Do not do that to him. So I'm grateful for my brother who's 10 years older than I am, because I would have been fruits and veggies boy.
That's so rich, man. So, hey, talking about your little bro and the origin of the Terry man himself, just kind of give us a quick idea of who the heck Terry is, who you are as a person, a little bit about your journey, man, and we can kind of dive into some value.
Sure. I appreciate that, man. In my heart, I am a growth-oriented connecting machine, right? My Facebook bio says, leave people better than you find them. And that's my goal. That's my mission. That's my missive every single day, every interaction. How do if I'm just buying something and you're at the cash register and I'm giving you my money, how do I make you smile? How do I make sure that your next interaction is going to be better than your last interaction? If we're doing some social media stuff, or if I'm doing some training or some coaching, how do I make sure that you are going to walk through the rest of the day full of energy, full of pep, vibing in the right way, and ready to just grow and move forward? How that started, I don't necessarily know, man. There's a picture of me in my senior yearbook. And I was leading we were at a pep rally and I was leading like a little chant. And so there's, 1,400 people in the audience. And there's a photo of me with a microphone doing what I did. And I guess as a result, I became a motivational speaker, man. I've always been that cheerleader, that promoter, that guy that's going to help you do better than you were doing yesterday. And that's kind of the goal, man. So that comes out of me in a few different ways. I coach, I train, I speak, I write. I've written a book on business networking, which is pretty cool. Did that a long time ago, actually coming out with a third edition of that this year, because, networking has changed over the last couple of years, right? Zoom wasn't a thing when I wrote that book. So it's been cool, man. Was educated I picked my college based on, they had a really good education program because I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and they had an accredited business school because I thought I wanted to be in business. And, at 18, I'm lucky to have any thoughts at all. Let's be honest, right? I don't know why we're telling people they need to figure out their lives at 18, but that's maybe another show. And I got to college, and my second semester, I took a psychology class. And I don't know if I can swear on this show, so I won't. But in that first couple of months, I realized that I was pretty messed up. And I was like, I need to take another psych class. And by the time I finished my major in psychology, I realized that we're all pretty messed up. So I wasn't unique or special in that. And then I had enough credits left over. I got a double major in communications. Thought process being, if I understood how people think and knew how to communicate with them effectively, regardless of who they are, right? I'm always going to be the same, but who I'm talking to is always going to be different. So I'm going to have to adjust my style. If I could do those two things, I might be a force to reckon with in business. Understand how folks think, know how to communicate. And so started in sales like a lot of us that are lost souls did okay. But I would leave sales meetings with so many referrals for other people, right? And have the opportunity to help that client or that prospect, and then have the opportunity to help other people in my network. I just had a knack for that. And so used that, was running a networking group similar to a BNI in Columbus, Ohio, back in the mid to late 90s. Moved back up to Detroit, which was home, in 2000. Couldn't find a group that I liked. And like any good entrepreneur, you see a problem, you solve a problem. So I started a group here in Detroit called Motor City Connect back in 2005. And the idea was simple, man. Ford, GM, Chrysler, the three big companies that are in the Detroit area, were dying on the vine. People were being laid off left and right. If we didn't figure out how to create an entrepreneur class, a class of people that were going to independently go out and get their own, we were done. And so Motor City Connect existed for three reasons: to help you grow as an individual, to help you grow your business, so we could work together to better our community. And if I look at the trajectory of Detroit since that took place, 15, 17 years ago, people were talking, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, people were talking about Detroit's dead, it's dying. You, Trybean, are going to be the last guy. You're going to have to turn the lights off when it's over. Like, no, man, we're going to change the narrative. We're going to change the story. We're going to change the way people in this area feel about our central city, right? We're going to change the way they think about it, the way they look at it, and the way they interact with it. And then the results will change. Now in 2022, I just saw on USA Today, Detroit was voted to have the best river walk in the country. Man, people weren't even going down to the river 15 years ago. That wasn't a thing, bro. It's amazing how much has shifted. Motor City Connect led to TEDxDetroit. We've been putting that on. This will be year 14. So we've been doing that for a minute. So I've had the opportunity to be on that stage a few times, as well as promote hundreds of other great thinkers and innovators and doers and makers and artists and musicians and, the whole thing that makes the world go round. So it's been cool, man. It's been cool. And like I said, my day job, I coach, I train, I speak. Most of it is around relationship marketing, business networking, business growth, right? Whether that's online or in the real world. So that's who I am in a pretty big nutshell.
Yeah, dude, there's so much to unpack there. And, when I first met you, I was like, man, this dude's energy is infectious. Like, you're just a pleasant person to be around. And then like your philosophy and your mental modeling around business and networking was just like, man, I like vibe with it on a very high level. Being a young guy myself, man, just full disclosure, I'm going to be 29 here in about a year, literally not a year, but a month from today. It's May 11th as we're recording this. And I just now learned this, Terry, 6 months ago, the power of networking, like the social part. Like, I wish I knew that my first sales job. Obviously, I was pretty successful. I did millions. I crushed it. However, I feel like I would have done even better if I left every meeting with, hey, let me just solve this person's problem, regardless if I get paid for it or not. Like, I was a hammer, right? Yes, I was obsessed with desired outcomes, but I was like scheming of like, how can I put the money in my company's coffers, right? In our coffers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
6 months ago, when I was like, man, getting into this connecting side, this connecting energy of like, I'll give you the story. This will land it that we can kind of dive into the topic deeper. I did a podcast recording. Shout out to podcasting, by the way. I think it's the most amazing thing on the planet.
That's how we met.
Yep. This guy who I recorded, he's a multimillionaire, guy's crushing it, right? He voluntarily, he unsolicitedly introduced me to someone. Yo, you should check this person out. I think you guys would vibe. On LinkedIn. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm down to connect. I connect with this guy. I got to see what he does. I was like, man, this dude does some really cool stuff. Like, and he's with their, like, they have great prices. Like, you know, I was like, man, I wish I knew this before I started my pod, essentially. It's like, man, I wish I knew this. So every new person I talk with who are like, yeah, I'm interested in starting a podcast, guess what I do? I freaking introduce them to them. Turns out then this guy becomes like, yo, I see that you do sales recruiting. I'm looking for a sales guy, help me out. So this one piece of business came from an introduction that someone made to me. And then I was just passing the ball forward, and it led down to business. And I'm still referring people to this guy to this day, unattached to getting paid for it. Right.
Unattached,
and
right?
And then I just did it times 100. So who knows, Terry? I might introduce you to someone, right?
You never know, right?
Yeah.
In all sincerity, you probably will. And at some point, it becomes so ingrained in who you are and your being that, this is almost to a fault for me. There are times when I'm like, damn it, I should have put together some kind of agreement with this guy before making that introduction, because it's really hard to go get the money after the deal's done, right? If you don't set it up that right way. But it doesn't even matter, because the amount of goodwill and the amount of good things that happen as a result that aren't even necessarily directly tied to those people, but are tied from a universal perspective. I talk about the law of reciprocity and the law of generosity in my book. The law of reciprocity basically says that if I do good by you, you're going to be on high alert to figure out how to do good by me. Mm-hmm. The law of generosity basically states that if I do good by you, the universe is paying attention and it's going to bend in its way to do good by me, right? Mm-hmm. So you get both of those laws acting in your favor. Man, nothing but good's going to come out of that.
Especially when it's just a couple clicks of a keyboard or your phone, right? Like all it is like, man, I'm thinking about this other person's best interest or two people's best interests, and it just makes sense, right? It just makes sense.
It just did. It doesn't take long, right? And oh, by the way, and this is one of the things that drives me nuts, right? People are like, well, I can't refer you. I don't know you well enough. Okay, you can still refer me, right? You just don't have to recommend me. Those are two different things, right? I can say Desmond does sales recruiting and you're looking for salespeople, you should talk. Or I can say, dude, Desmond's the greatest sales recruiter in the history of all time, and you're a fool if you don't use this dude, right? Those are different conversations. One, I'm solving a need. The other one, I'm saying this is your dude, right? And you can separate those. Make the introductions, man, especially if you feel compelled to do so. Listen to what's being pulled from inside of you and take that action.
Man, that's so powerful. So let's segue into this next part, which I think is compounds on this, is for people out there listening right now who are new to the networking and connecting game, this in the social relationship part of this stuff. Talk to us a little bit about like how to get people's feet wet and like how to approach and build actually these networks to then start connecting people. Like how do people begin?
Yeah, I love this question. Here's the thing. Stop going into it to figure out what you can get. Start going into it to figure out what you can give. It changes the way you hear things and you're listening to people. It changes the way you'll see things as you're observing. It changes all of it, right? And it changes your energy 180 degrees. Right? If I'm trying to sell you something, trying to get something on you or over you or from you or with you, whatever, you're going to feel that and you're going to naturally kind of repel away from me a little bit, right? Like the wrong end of the magnets trying to smash together. You flip that, all of a sudden you like, boom, everything's coming right to you. Non-stop attraction. And that's a powerful mode. So start there. What can I give? How may I be of service, right? We've all, maybe not all of us, but a lot of folks have heard about servant leadership, Dr. Robert Greene's concept. It's the same thing in networking. It's the same thing in business. It's the same thing in relationships. How may I be of service to you? You go in asking that question, it changes everything. The next thing I will tell you is work on two things. Work on being the best listener you possibly can, and work on asking better questions, right? And then actually listen to the answers when they share them, right? Those are super duper powerful. One of the questions I learned a long time ago from a guy named Bob Berg, and Bob's a friend of mine. Bob's the author of Endless Referrals. He's also the co-author of the Go Giver series. So
my favorite book.
Some of you folks will know that one. He wrote a book called Winning Without Intimidation, which was after Endless Referrals and before the Go Giver. That's a great, great book. He said, how would I recognize if someone I am speaking to would be a good referral for you? Right? So how would I recognize if someone I'm speaking to would be a good referral for you? And then shut up. It's this simple. Listen to the answer. And I promise you, if you ask that at an event and there's more than 50 people at that event, invariably you're going to run into a person that is the answer for the person who gave you that, right? They're the connection point. And then you walk over casually, grab that person by the arm, grab the other person by the arm, introduce them, step away. Now you got two people talking about you and you're nowhere around. That is powerful, powerful stuff.
Yo, I just wrote that question down because I'm adding it to my arsenal. That's so rich. Man. That's so good.
Good stuff. And good stuff happens.
So something else I want to unpack, man. Let's keep compounding this. I love stacking. So we talked about, the power of social capital essential, right? Like building social capital, like being in the mindset of giving. We also talked about the power of referrals and how to get started by listening. Active listening is so important, being naturally curious. Right? We can have a whole episode on like the levels of listening, right?
Yes, sir. Curiosity is awesome. I don't know why it kills cats, but it is great for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And here's a little hack I learned just so that we can compound and give some more value. And actually train this to all my sales guys is listen. This changed my life. I went to an NLP event. Like I'd done a certification just to learn how to listen better. I was like, yo, I'm here to like be a better listener because I got feedback. They said I was just, a bad listener, right? It was my biggest piece, my biggest weakness. And the Dr. Karen, I'll never forget this. She told me, she was like, Desmond, listen with the intention of repeating back exactly what you heard. And that shifted my brain, like changed my life, man. Changed my entire life.
Well, I love that because most people listen with the intent of replying or responding, right? Now, listening with the idea of replaying back what you heard, you got to pay a whole different level of attention. And that's really, we're in the attention economy at this point. That's all we're trying to do, right? I was telling you before we came on air, I was in Mexico, and the amount of evidently Instagram models that I saw, man, stopping to get this pose and this look and that and all this other stuff, man. I'm over it. But, you got to get that feed going, I guess, because it's attention based. And that's a great way to gain attention. I tell people all the time, you want to be the most powerful conversationalist anyone's ever talked to them for 10 minutes, speak for 1, listen for 9. They'll walk away thinking you're the best conversationalist ever.
That's so good. That's so good. So, okay, let's put all this together, man. We got social capital, we got, curiosity, referrals, how to do a referral. Let's talk about business growth, right? Like, how can we put all of this together to actually like grow our business, right?
So, we always talk about the 60-second commercial or the elevator pitch. I told people that none of that matters, right? We've run these Motor City Connect events, right? There'd be 50, 60 people in a room. If I had a minute intro for 60 people in an hour and 15-minute meeting, the people would scratch their eyes out. They'd be punching folks. It would be horrible. So we shortened it down, right? We made it 15 seconds. We called it the ask. And the ask was pretty straightforward. Name, business category. Right. And then who's the one person, what's the one company or what's one big idea that if someone in this room right now could introduce you to and it would make your next month? What does that look like? Right. So it forced people to get really specific. Take words like anyone or anybody or everybody that does X, Y, and Z out of your vocabulary. The more specific you are in what you're looking for, the more specific you can be when you tell somebody who they should introduce you to, the better off the results you're going to get. Right? They're not fumbling around trying to figure out which one of the everybody they know is a fit. They're going, I tell people, I look at it like a mental Rolodex, right? I don't know if you're old enough to remember what a Rolodex is. It's where we used to keep all the cards and all the name tags, and it was round. So it would spin. And you'd be like, we all have that inside our brain when we think about the connections we have. It's like a game of go fish. You've got to ask for the specific one. So as they're spinning through, it stops, they can pull that card out and hand it to you, as opposed to being like, no, man, now I'm just spinning cycles, you know? So get really granular, really specific. I know it seems counterintuitive at first. I'm only asking for one person when I could serve 100. No, pick the one. One of the best asks I ever saw in all the years of doing this, somebody asked if anyone knew the director of alumni relations for the University of Michigan. There were only 11 people at this meeting. Out of the 11 people at this meeting, one person knew the director of alumni relations at the University of Michigan. One person knew that same position at Michigan State University. Somebody else asked about Oakland University because they knew that person. And somebody else asked about Wayne State University. That person got 4 referrals out of one ask because they were that specific and that clear in what they were looking for. Out of 11 people, man. Like, what was it, 36%? That's ridiculous.
Man, yo. Oh man, they say riches in the niches specifically, right? And I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, when we're first starting out, or when we first get that first dopamine hit of business coming through the door, we're like, man, so many people can value from what we're going to sell, like what we can provide. But it's when you get really, really specific, you not only speak to the person that will primarily get the value, but the other people will see value in that communication style as well, right? Because they see themselves, right?
It's it. And even if you're in something like, whether it's a mortgage guy or an insurance guy, car salesperson, even if you really truly can sell to the multitudes, right? You could sell to everybody. Still be specific in what you're asking for, because your audience is smart enough to know that if you can do that for a doctor or an insurance cat or a psychologist or a teacher or whatever, they're going to say, well, I have my uncle, right? He's a construction guy. Can you help him? Yeah, of course I can help him, right? They'll extrapolate from what you said. I'm not saying you only serve those people, but I'm telling you, when you're thinking about where you're going to spend your time networking, what events you're going to go to, how are you going to market, what are you going to post on social media? Think of that one specific audience, talk to them, and let the rest of it funnel through.
Man, love it, man. Love it. So I'm just curious. I think we're striking gold here. We're striking gold here, Terry. So let's talk about where I want to go with this one. Yeah, let's talk about events, man, because I think this is important. As entrepreneurs and business owners, I spend at least 10 grand a year on conferences, masterminds, maybe like just getting in front of more people, right? And you mentioned that going in with specific, like being very specific with who you are, who you serve, what you're looking for is very critical in terms of like being opened up to specific opportunities. Talk to us about like how you like to, like, what's your philosophy around like how to work a room? How do you prepare usually for these conferences? Obviously, you've thrown some yourself, right? Like been involved in planning. So like how can someone really maximize, like if they're kind of new to this kind of game, like how can they maximize like going to a conference and like really networking at a high level?
I love it. Number one, know what your desired outcome is. I love that phrase. You used it earlier, right? What's that deal? What are you trying to get out of it? That ties into the ask that we just talked about, right? If and whenever possible, look at the list of people that are going to be there, right? Try and be strategic. Find 3 or 4. I didn't say find 300 or 400. I said find 3 or 4 people that you want to talk to, right? That you want to make it a point to connect with. And then once you get there, and you may or may not need a wingman, right? A wingman, someone that you're going to show up with, because they're going to make sure your butt gets in the room. Because the number one rule to all of it is show up, right? If you don't show up, you can't network. So you got to go, right? So, and I guess before this, make sure that your target audience is going to be there, right? I only go to events where my prospects are going to be, or I'm going to be able to learn from some competitors or some thought leaders, right? If it's not hitting at least one of those, I'm not going. I don't need to go to the book club. I don't need to go to, unless it's a book I'm reading and I want to learn more, right? But I don't need to go to just some general meetup in town. There's too many of those. So be specific of where you're spending your time and be intentional about where you're spending your time. But once you get there, right, find one or two people. The first one's the host. The host knows the majority of the folks that are going to be in the room. Tell them who you're looking to meet and ask them if they would be kind enough to make an introduction for you. The host, the satisfaction of the event is based on the number of good connections and the positive feedback they get. So they're going to be happy to introduce you because that's part of being a good host. Now, understand the host is always busy, right? They're running an event. They got stuff to do. So the other person that you want to go talk to, there's always going to be a person that looks like they're holding court. They got 5 or 6 or 8 people standing around them. Folks are laughing and having a good time. Those are the connectors in the room. When you go in and talk to a connector and tell them who you're looking for, they're going to be more than happy to introduce you because that's who they are. They're connectors, right? So search out those people in the room. Tell them specifically and quickly what you're looking for. And then let the magic happen from there. A couple other things. One, don't ever be in a conversation for longer than 10, 15 minutes with people, right? They're there to network. You're there to network. If you guys are sitting there talking for that long, pull out your phone, schedule a time for a call, a coffee, a lunch, or whatever, and get it on the calendar. Go meet some other folks. It allows them to do the same thing. Who knows? They might meet the next person that you actually really wanted to meet, right? The other thing is allow for serendipity. I know I said have a list of 3 to 4 people that you're looking to meet. The right person always shows up, whether you even knew they were going to be there or not. So if you casually bump into somebody because it's crowded, say hi, smile, right? You never know. That person could be the exact person you were there to meet. The universe brings us together with great intention. Don't discredit that because you were on your mission to meet number 4 on your list of 4, right? Don't walk by the magic that could just happen for you. So there's a handful of tips.
Yeah, like that was gold, man. Like that was gold. Like being present. I think the 10 to 15 minute rule is huge. Getting in the room is huge. So like, I think those 2 are the biggest ones because sometimes you get nervous or scared or imposter syndrome or whatever, because you're going to be surrounded like anxiety. So I think getting in the room is a big one. Having a wingman, I think that's great. It also keeps you accountable and it also makes you like work, both of you guys to work in the room and you guys can pull resources at the end of the day. Right.
Yeah, twice the effort, man. You got 2 people looking for you with their little antenna up.
Yeah, it's like having 2 quarterbacks on the field, right?
It's powerful.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and talk to your wingman the entire time. It drives me nuts when groups from like a single company will come to an event and then they'll sit at the same table. Like, what? You know them. And I promise you, they ain't buying shit from you because they selling the same stuff, man. Stop it. I guess I decided we can swear on your show.
Yeah,
My
dude,
apologies.
we're capitalists, man. We're good. Yeah, then like not talk with someone 10 minutes, man. That was good. So, all right, I've been dying to ask you this because I think now we're getting a little bit deep in terms of some real like hardcore connecting and networking. And I think a big part of it is relationships, right? Like, yes, we talked about, connecting people and spending more time of them talking and being curious and listening and all of that. But I'm a big fan of blue fishing. So this is something else that came up for me about a year ago. Serene Sims, I don't know if you heard of the book, but
looking forward to hearing about that.
Yeah. So essentially, so this dude's for a lot. This also changed my life. Sorry, guys. This connecting and relationship selling and just being about other people has like changed my life, both mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, where I'm just in a better mood, right? Like everything's in a better mood. And so this book by Serene Sims is called Blue Fishing. And the whole idea of it is doing things just like in an extravagant way differently, right? Now, it could be the small things. So for example, for instance, I'm traveling the world. Something that I'm planning to do this week or next week is buy up a bunch of postcards in Croatia and write handwritten letters to random people that has had a positive impact in my life, who I've been in business with, people I just love being in a relationship with, just a personal note that I'm going to send all the way from Europe back to the United States, right? Not sending it. I could easily send an email. I could easily send a text. I could even do a video message, which also is another form of blue fishing because people don't send video messages like more, often.
True.
But just like doing different things to go deeper, right? So what's your thought on that, man? Like, have you done anything like that?
You know what? I do enough of that, but not in that way, right? If you're in my list, you're going to hear from me directly, right? I'm going to pick up the phone. And at this day and age, that's old school and old enough that it doesn't happen. But when you said that, it took me back. And I just got an email from this dude this morning. He responded to my newsletter, said we needed to talk. We haven't spoken for a while, but I got a handwritten note that had a Christmas poem on it on the back of a postcard, and it had a picture and it had a couple other things in an envelope. And it was like 2009, so social media was in full effect. And he said, I decided to go analog and send this to you. I kept that damn note for like 5 years. And this is a dude that Tim Berners-Lee, who was one of the founders of the World Wide Web, right? He's credited with starting the web. This guy was around back in those days and used to get messages from Tim, right? That is an old school tech guy. And for him to go in such a different, unexpected direction, it stood out so much that it's 14 years later and I'm telling the story, right? So I love that idea of getting a bunch of postcards and brightening somebody's day. I talk about the idea of, there's recommendations on LinkedIn, and, LinkedIn's very, ask for recommendation. And they make it easy to get, right? If you do it. Tell people all the time, forget asking. Find the 10 people that you're on fire for and go write them a recommendation, right? Unsolicited, that they didn't expect, they didn't see coming. 3 things are going to happen. Number 1, you're going to absolutely make their day. Number 2, you're going to live rent-free on their profile so other people will see you. And a well-written recommendation sometimes says as much about the writer as it does about the person that's written for. And number 3, LinkedIn's going to say, do you want to return the favor? So you're going to get 4 or 5 recommendations out of making the effort of writing these recommendations, right? So you're going to end up growing your reach and influence as a result of doing good for other people. So, but yeah, dude, postcards, man. I'm sending you my address.
Email me your address. It's so funny, Terry? I literally wrote that down, man. LinkedIn recommendations on my notebook since we started talking. I was like, man, I think because we're, it's just a creative energy, but that's so good. I didn't know that people get prompted back to write back. Like, that's gold. Like, that's
so
gold.
Good. So good. The endorsement's way too easy, right? The recommendation is where it's at. And be thoughtful and don't be writing them, but don't write bullshit, right? Write stuff for people that you want to see win, that you want to see succeed. Easy to do, man. You go talk about it takes 2 minutes to write an email to introduce people. It takes 2 minutes to write a recommendation too.
This is gold. So I feel like we gave so much value in here. So I'm just curious, man, how can people find you? What's the best way to get more of your content? I know you mentioned a newsletter. So, if people want more Terry, how can we get more Terry?
More Terry. Yes. I'm a big LinkedIn user, right? I'm there not all day, but I'm there every day, whether I want to be or not. So LinkedIn.com/in/Terry Bean, the guy in Detroit, that's me. My website is Trybean, Trybean.com. I've got a blog. I just switched hosts and got a new website earlier this year. And the company that did it did not do a great job of informing me how to back up or doing the backup themselves. So I lost about 95 posts on that site, which makes me sad. But life's okay. I'll write them again, right? So there's not as much content there as there was before, but there's a bunch of stuff there too. Link to the book, link to videos, link to my YouTube channel and Instagram and Facebook and all that other, wherever we're supposed to be these days. I tried TikToking for a little while. I don't like dancing. I mean, I like dancing, but I ain't going to dance on video. And I haven't figured out a way to make networking interesting enough people to care, I guess. So there's some TikToks, but it's just north of garbage.
Rain check the TikTok.
Yeah, rain check. You can go check it out if you're really bored.
That's so good.
It's cool, man. I appreciate you having me on, Desmond. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh man, this was great, jam-packed. So once again, thanks for coming. Guys, definitely go check out all his links in the show notes. Go check out Terry. I mean, this guy is literally on fire out of Detroit. And thank you once again for your most precious resource on the planet, which is your time. I'm extremely grateful for that. Thanks for coming to the campfire, and we will see you on the next show.
If you call